You ready?
All right, let's do this thing. Three, two, one. Silent claps as hopefully Walkie stays asleep. Welcome
We're
on
back. We're
in.
back in the home pods.
It's another edition of the Clap Your Hands podcast. Jack Fritz, Elliot Shore Parks, as always, brought to you by Coors Light. James Jackson in the breaking news booth. So we're obviously doing the pod. We're locked in. If anything happens Sixers-wise, we are here to react to it immediately. Yes. Elliot, the Sixers do it. They take Jared McCain out of Duke. What's your early reaction here?
So it's not the pick I would have made. I would have taken Isaiah Collier. I was very clear about that. I'm sure we'll get into the Dalton Connect conversation. I'm sure that's who you wanted. I know that's who a lot of Sixers Twitter wanted following along. My defense of the pick, and I think the reasoning behind it is pretty clear, and I think it's pretty strong. In a draft that a lot of people viewed as weak, I didn't view it that way, but a lot of people did. In a draft where there were no sure things, I completely understand the logic in taking a sure thing or an elite skill. And Jared McCain is, if not the best shooter in the draft, he is certainly top three. I mean, the guy that went to Houston is probably the best, and Dalton Connect did shoot a high percentage as well. But Jared McCain shot over 41% on almost 6 attempts. We said we're big YouTube watch guys. You can tell in a few minutes watching someone, just watching him shoot, it's very clear, like this is not a fluke. The shot looks pretty. Am I a little worried that the Sixers are banking on taking a shooter, considering their history with guys being drafted and either forgetting how to shoot or refusing to shoot? Absolutely. But the vision is clear, and I think the vision makes a ton of sense. We'll talk about the fit with Maxey on defense, but on offense, they will very quickly have one of, if not the best backcourt shooting duo in the NBA. I mean, Maxey is already one of the best shooters in the NBA. And McCain, obviously, we'll see if it translates, but he has the skill to be that. So again, in a draft where I liked Isaiah Collier, but does he have one elite skill? I don't know. Dalton Connect, interesting player. He probably has close to it with shooting. But I think just taking a skill that you know is going to be valuable, you know your team needs, and you know he can do, like, I get the logic of it.
Yeah, so I feel a couple of things. One, I would have taken Connect, unless it came out that he's 30. I know he's 23.
He doesn't look old, I will say.
Yeah, and I know the team's one upside, but I think Dalton Connect's a day one starter for this team. I would have taken Isaiah Collier. I was with you on that. I would have taken a shot on the upside with him, and I like the idea of Jared McCain. Like, I like taking a freshman out of Duke. We know that they traditionally get good, highly touted players in there. And I will say, I think him and Maxey create maybe the happiest backcourt. Like, a dynamite smile.
Yeah.
Dynamite
Maxey will be
smile.
a big TikTok star. He's built to be in those TikToks. Yeah.
Dude, those two are going to be on fire on TikTok. So, one of the things I really cared about was I wanted to find someone that wanted to be a Sixer. And looking, like, just obviously I actually did remember Jared McCain during the season, like whenever I would watch Duke, and he was one of the more popular college basketball names. And like, he seems like a guy that jumps 2 feet in whatever situation he's in. Like, he got to Duke and he's like making all these TikToks. He's all duked up, all that, which is great. Like, he looks like someone that's going to be all in, have a great work ethic, he looks actually pretty competitive defensively. I didn't really expect that from the clips that I watched. You think about the shooting. The shooting's massive. My big concern with him is really just that he's 6'3".
Yeah.
And I don't know how that's a pretty small backcourt unless they want McCain. Like, I would be surprised if he starts day one, frankly. I just would be. I think he's more of a come off the bench guy and maybe run the second unit. But in watching him, he looks smaller. Like, he looks like a smaller 6'3", just like Maxey does. And I don't know if they drafted someone that is going to start for them this year, maybe next year. It's a small backcourt, Elliot, and that's my big concern.
So I agree with that. I think that him and Maxey are different kinds of small. I agree that just watching McCain, he looks smaller than 6'3". And if you look at his wingspan is not long. Again, we talked about this in our preview pod. Maxey might be undersized, but Maxey has, like, his arms are 6 inches or 7 inches longer, his wingspan, than his height. So he has really long arms, which helps him make up for his size deficiency. McCain has the exact same wingspan as his height. He's 6'3". His wingspan is 6'3". So he's not long. I think the physical limitations would be my concern with him. When I watch the highlights, he doesn't look ultra quick to me. Not many players are going to be as fast as Maxey, but Maxey's speed allows him to make up for some of his deficiency in his size, both the weight and the height. I don't think McCain has that. What I do like about McCain is somewhat similar to what I saw in Isaiah Collier, is I do like that McCain feels like a slow it down point guard. Like in the playoffs, I could picture him, if you know, and that's a long way away, but I could picture him.
We're going playoffs.
I don't think he's going to start game one. I agree with you on that. But I'm saying eventually when he does have a role on this team outside just being a spot up shooter, the scouting reports you read, and I watch the highlight tapes of his passes. That's probably not the best indication of how good of a passer he is.
You gotta be able to see some vision.
I agree. Well, look, I have to have conviction about it. I would just say that I think he seems like a good passer. I don't know if he's a special passer. If you read the scouting reports, they say he has potential as it. So he averaged 2 assists per game, which you look at and go, that's not a ton. But the truth is most college basketball players suck. So I'd imagine it's pretty hard to get assists in college basketball. It's not like the NBA when you're surrounded by elite guys. McCain was probably the best shooter and the best player on his team. So the assist total is not super worrisome for me. My concern with McCain, and it's what I said on the preview pod, is he just a shooter? Like if he's just a shooter, he has value. At 16, I equate the 16th pick in the NBA draft to probably like a late second round pick in the NFL. Well, I don't think it's worthy of a first round pick. Like when you get to halfway through the first round, I think you're not first round pick NFL. If you're a first round pick in the NFL, you should project to be a starter right away and a special player.
Well, I don't know if you're watching the ESPN broadcast, but they had a full breakdown of all the stars that are taken in that era or in that area of the draft. So, you might want to rectify that comment, pal.
Well, there's great players taken at every pick, and McCain could end up being one of them. My concern is I don't know if McCain has the upside to be a player that impacts the game in a ton of ways outside of just shooting, which can be helpful and will make him a top 7 or 8 rotation player on a really good team. Like if he shoots the ball as well in the NBA as he did at Duke, he will be an important and contributing player on the Sixers. When you talk about Isaiah Collier, I think could have came in, ran the point right away. I think he is an elite passer. I think he has upside to be a good shooter. I think his body is more NBA ready. He looks just stronger and thicker to me than McCain did. Talk about Dalton Knecht. Dalton Knecht is 6'6", and he can also really shoot. And he averaged 20 points or something like that in the SEC.
Oh, the SEC Player of the Year. I mean,
Justin from Tennessee guy too.
I know. Justin Tennessee, very upset. It's just, I think with Knecht, I like the length. I think McCain and him are similar shooters. That's not a concern. I just 6'3", like. Is he like who's gonna be the point guard? Is it gonna be the kind of just handing it off? It's gonna be one guy brings it up, one guy's not gonna bring it up. Again, I think he's gonna be a good player. I think they drafted an NBA player tonight. I think that the shot is 100% legit.
Agreed.
But I would have liked a little bit more of an upside play. At least I
agree with that.
If you draft a 6'8" guy, I know we've made fun of like the De Silva idea or whatever, but at least like that's an athletic wing that can do some things. You draft some of these other guys, even if you draft one like the 6'5", like the Tyson kids, like 6'5". Like he feels so redundant to Tyrese. Like it feels like obviously Maxey's quicker. Maxey is more explosive. Coming out, McCain's a better shooter. They feel so redundant, and again, I'm not sure they drafted a starter tonight. I'm really not.
So I don't think he'll start right away. I do agree with you on that. I do think he has upside to start. I think he's going to need to get reps and mature as like a pure point guard that can run the point and control the offense. I think it's unfair to expect any rookie to come in there and do that right away. Again, I thought Collier could do it, but like think about when they played the Knicks, right, in the playoffs. The Knicks felt like they had so many guys like Josh Hart making threes out of nowhere. I know he's not a great three-point shooter, but he shot above what he normally is, and it killed the Sixers. The Sixers really didn't have a ton of great three-point shooters last year. They had Maxey, they had Batum in stretches. Oubre ended up shooting a career low from 3, even though it felt like it was always going to go in. Like if they are building around Embiid, and we've had long discussions about this, and this feels like an Embiid pick. I know I get your point about him being a long-term starter, but this is someone I think that does in some ways fit Embiid's window. Like McCain will come in next year, and when Embiid has the ball, like he will be surrounded by 2 elite shooting guards. That I mean, Embiid's never had shooters like this around him, really. I mean, I guess JJ, but then he didn't have Maxey. Like, so the combination of them, I think, will really help Embiid. Now, if they're going to run the offense through Embiid, he'll have to be smart with the passes and all that. But I do think McCain is a win now player in that way. The question is just, can he be an 82 game starter next to Maxey in a year from now or 2 years from now? Like, is the size going to hold him back enough where he can't start next to Maxey? Is Maxey going to next year control the ball more, maybe be more of the point guard while McCain's on the court? So there are like the X's and O's questions to that. But going into the draft, we had a lot of talk about, do they draft like an upside play, which I agree with, but maybe doesn't help Embiid this year as much? Or do they go with more of a safe thing? And I did not like Tristan da Silva. I would not have taken him. Sure. But I think McCain is more in the Tristan da Silva category than he would have been like a Bub Carrington. I think Isaiah Collier is ready now too. But, like those guys.
It's a bit of a mix, right? Like it's a bit of a mix of a pretty decent upside play. He's a freshman at Duke. Yeah, I mean, that team did go to the Elite Eight, which they were not, I don't think, projected to do really heading into the tournament.
30 plus in March Madness, which I'm big on. Like,
well,
that's a big clutch moment there.
And one of my favorite things about basketball players is, like, I don't need guys like, of course, the Kyrie and Maxey, actually, to an extent. Like, those guys are gonna have those crazy kind of finishes around the rim as small little guards in school. But I need my guards to be able to score around the rim in crafty ways, and I think he has a little bit of that. So I think it's a pretty decent combination of upside, but also a pretty safe pick. I think that's a pretty safe pick what they did tonight. Again, he's a really good shooter that I think, as he goes along here, like, the stroke should get even quicker. Him and Maxey, I mean, Maxey developing into this is not like looking at McCain coming out versus Maxey's shot coming out. It's not even comparable. So you start thinking, like, how good could McCain be? I mean, those two could be pulling up from just inside the logo. I mean, there is the Splash Brothers 2.0. There definitely is that kind of upside. But again, Klay Thompson 6'7", 6'6". Yeah. It's too short, guys. So I don't want to rant rave too much about the size and how, my questions about his shortness. I just hope they got it right. Like, I know that's not like a shocking take. We want the Sixers to be good.
Well, you're a big Sixers guy, as we both are. So.
Well, yeah. Even though I listen, and I had to explain this at First at 6. So First at 6, I did this whole thing about how, like, I really just want new hope. Like, I just want to start over. I've been there on this podcast. It's fine. Like, it just, like, I felt so much hope in 14, 15, 16, 17 of, like, they're gonna run the 2020s and it's gonna be a magical and the light at the end of the tunnel. And I had to explain to a lot of people, because, again, I feel like no one listens, and they just assume if you're negative about anything, that means that you hate everything. And I love the Sixers. I watch every Sixers game, and I want them to be great. I think Connect would have been the better pick. I really do. Like, I was surprised he fell. Like, that's a pretty golden opportunity. The age is the age, and I get it, but, like, the play is also the play. Like, sometimes you got to turn on the tape, Elliot. And we've been saying that, He's explosive. He can score in the mid-range. He can really shoot from three. He's got some killer in him that I like. He's, like, that's, to me, someone that could fit next to Maxey that makes a little bit more sense versus a Jared McCain, who, again, is 6'3", and I'm not sure he's really going to start. I would have taken McCain. I would take Collier. Or I would say Connect and Collier.
Okay. So I think of those three, all three have a strong argument. But let's talk about something else with McCain, because I can tell already, based off of Twitter, based off of some of the comments, like, McCain's personality, the TikTok thing. Like, let's just get into it, because I want to get my stance out there on this very clearly. I think McCain's personality is a strength and not a weakness. I think it is something people should be excited about with him as a prospect instead of concerned. I've been around professional athletes for 12 years. You're around professional athletes when you're around the Phillies and you interview.
Well,
right?
No, I mean, it's really only Ike. It's really only Ike and Hugh. Ike and Hugh.
Well, no, I mean, like, and you were basically a professional college baseball player. But
correct. Yeah.
Regardless, one thing I think that makes it hard to translate to professional sports is, like, the confidence of doing that. I've been around rookies every year and with the Eagles, and one thing they struggle with is coming to the NFL and, like, adjusting to the massive, like, pressure that's on him, and adjusting to being in that spotlight, and adjusting to having all these new eyeballs on him. And basketball is somewhat like baseball. in the way that baseball is 162 games. And I'm not comparing, like McCain should be a better player than this guy. But the Phillies have Stubbs to be in the dugout.
Oh,
ready?
no.
You ready for this?
No.
The Phillies have Stubbs to be in the dugout and be the guy that's fun and like comes in every day and like has a smile on his face. The Eagles have Brandon Graham like that. Nolan Smith seems like that type of guy. I really think all this concern about McCain's like TikTok and the nails and all that, like I think he is going to be a welcome addition to that Sixers locker room. Does anybody feel like the first words you think of when you think of the Sixers of the past few years is fun? Like, does anyone think of the Sixers as like having all types of smiles on their faces? No, they look tense all the time, right? Like, and I do think ultimately the leadership of Embiid will dictate the mood in the locker room. So I'm not saying McCain's going to come in there and like change everything. But when I look at McCain, I see somebody that's going to come into the NBA with a ton of confidence. And somebody that, like Maxey, like we even saw last year, guys started to gravitate towards him a little. So there will be conversation about the TikTok. Like, does he really love basketball? Like, I really think.
I wonder how
personality is a strength and not a weakness at all.
I do wonder how our callers handle it. You know, I'm sure it's gonna.
Our callers know what TikTok is. That's they're gonna have to find it first. But.
Yeah. So I think McCain more than anything, and I agree with you, is a bet on him. You know, like it's a lot how the Eagles talked about Jalen before 2022, which is like we think he's going to hit whatever his ceiling it is, like he has, because we believe in the person. And that's what I think that McCain is. Like, could they have taken Dalton Connect? Could they have taken Collier? Yeah, sure. But I do think, given how the vibes around this team have been morose and just like last year I actually thought they had a good amount of fun. You know, like I think actually the Pat Bev infusion was kind of a fun thing. You know, I think that having him and Maxey there, we'll see what happens with Embiid. Like Embiid is sort of like Bryce, I feel like, where, you know, they're the stars. They get all the media attention. Like they are kind of living in their own world because it's hard for them to be in a bubble. And Maxey's probably getting close to it. But I feel like McCain and Maxey have a chance to be like the revolve everyone. You know, everyone revolves around them guys. Yeah. So he does seem like a very like he's got a lot of gravitational pull from that standpoint. Like people seem to love to be around him. We know that about Maxey. So again, what I kind of started this whole podcast with was I want guys that want to be Sixers, and in watching McCain and seeing his pregame interviews, like again, he seems like a guy that just dives all in and is committed to being fully all in and being a member of the team. So from that standpoint, I think it's a home run, like character-wise. I think it's a massive home run.
And I do think he could be someone fans love. Like one thing that another talking point with the Sixers that I hear a lot from fans is didn't like rooting for Ben at the end, didn't like rooting for Harden. I think Embiid, unfortunately, gets a little bit of that. But last year, we talked about when Maxey like started to really become Maxey and started to be a face of the team and started to be somebody that could score 30-plus points. Like it was a freshness to it of seeing a fresh face. I mean, when they traded Harden and we did that pod, it was there's no more Doc, there's no more Harden. Toby's gone now, which is, you know, knock on wood, it seems like he's gone. I do think that with McCain, fans will have someone new to latch onto. And so as much as you're right, I do think the fact that he will jump 2 feet in, like there will be TikToks on the Art Museum steps. Like he will be like in the Philly thing and doing all this. Like
I might have to download TikTok. I've long not been a TikToksman. I am an Instagram Reels guy. I might have to be a TikTok guy.
So here's what I'm a little worried about. I remember Instagram, I thought was like the young app, and Facebook was like what my parents were on. Now I think what we're coming across is Instagram is now Facebook and TikTok is now Instagram. You follow that?
I think Twitter's somewhere in the middle. I can't figure out what Twitter is. Twitter kind of just exists for sports people. Like I don't. Yeah, you know, there's 100%. Do you know there's another section of Twitter that's like people care about like other things besides sports?
Dude, my sister will send me texts and she's like, you know, music Twitter is talking about this, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I never see that version of Twitter.
That seems impossible.
WIP Twitter is the only version we know, and it's quite the world.
Yeah. So Twitter is its own universe. I agree with you. Instagram getting a little bit older, but I just refuse to download TikTok. I can't do it. I can't have another social media app.
I agree.
You know, I listened to our good friend James Seltzer once again
Not on those. Yeah.
lecture from his soapbox on the morning show today about how he moved the Twitter app on his phone from where his Kindle app usually is on
Yeah,
his,
I didn't
like,
hear that.
again, just such a hero. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, once again, just telling
Yeah.
everyone how to live their life.
He's
It's
always there for
really
us.
always there for us. Always there for us. You know, what would we do without the guiding light of James Seltzer? I can't do another thing. So,
I agree.
Jared McCain, I look forward to seeing your TikTok show up on my Twitter feed
We
and
hoping
on my
people
Instagram
screenshot
reels
them. Yep.
because I'm not downloading another thing. So that's the initial reaction to Jared McCain. You know, do you have anything?
Yeah, I have a quick McCain question. I'm not sure if this is where you were going, but are they going to keep him? Like, what we're
Yeah,
doing?
I mean, it seems like by this point, yeah. I mean, we would have got like I think a notification by now that he's
Yeah.
getting traded. Although I guess Mikal Bridges was 12 minutes, I believe, after they made the pick.
I don't know if
Which
you
is,
heard, but they did draft McCall and then trade him. I
you
don't
know
know
what's
if
so
that's
funny about that? It's
yeah.
like, dude, SGA was picked a pick later.
No one
And
brings it up. Yep.
No one brings it up. By the way, it was a sick joke, just an absolute sick joke by Adam Silver to do the whole announcing a trade thing. Like, what was that?
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, well, they can't do this. It was didn't appreciate that at all, Elliot.
I went upstairs, obviously, to get ready for the pod, did my hair, put my contacts in, and I got like texts from my friends, like all caps, like, what's happening? I'm like, of course, the second I go upstairs. So he definitely did trick everybody with that. Here's another serious take on McCain in regards to a trade. While I think they probably will keep him, and I agree if they were going to trade him right away, it would have came out by now. If you're someone that wants them to trade like a bunch of picks and players to get probably not Brandon Ingram. I'm in the minority with that. But let's say Jimmy or whoever. We'll go through all the guys that might still be available. McCain is a very tradable player. Like much like Mikal Bridges fits on every team, Jared McCain is useful to every team. There will not be a team out there that goes, McCain doesn't really fit our offense because he can shoot. It lights out. Like that's it. That's the whole thing. So, they didn't take like a developmental center that another team might not have interest in. They didn't take, like a ball dominant guard that you would change the offense for. They took somebody that any team could go in and use. So I think they'll probably keep him, but we know they're going to be really active between now and the start of free agency. We know that they're going to be very active and looking to make trades. And McCain is somebody, as much as I like the pick and I think everything we said is true, like he is somebody that in 4 days could be gone because he is a very, very tradable player.
Yeah, I think that's right. Again, because it does feel a little bit redundant, does it not? I mean,
I don't feel as strongly as you do about that.
You don't feel that? Why don't you? I mean, why don't you feel that?
So I think there's a redundancy. I think you're right about that. But like Maxey is such a different player now than I think McCain is. Like Maxey can attack the basket. Maxey has been in the NBA for 4 years. Like I think that ultimately you're right. If they develop, like the size is an issue. But at the same time, like it's not a redundancy of centers. It's a redundancy of guards on the perimeter that can shoot an elite level. So
sure.
So yes, I guess my roundabout way, I get your point. I do see a redundancy, but it's not a concerning redundancy to me.
Like
I'm
just
McCain was 6'7", yes, but he'd be probably the first pick in the draft if he was.
You know what? You know who he actually reminds me of, and he was really good this year, but it took him a little bit to get going. Is a little bit of Kobe White. Like Kobe White turned into,
but I could see it.
Did you say that's concerning?
Sorry, I'm thinking of early career Kobe White. You're right,
dude.
You're right.
If Maxey fell off a little bit, I think he would have won Most Improved Player. Yeah, I'm looking I'm looking at some of the lineup. So Kobe White and Caruso, that's pretty short. Garland and Mitchell, that's pretty short. There's just, I mean, you go through it, and it's at least the two guards usually like 6'5". Like Damian Lillard, Malik Beasley, that's pretty short.
Beasley seems longer to me than these guys, though. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just my eye test.
Oh well, listen. If there's one thing I trust in the world, it's definitely your eye test. Cole Anthony, Jalen Suggs, that's pretty short. I mean, like, so it happens. It happens. Right. I guess maybe and maybe today's league it just doesn't matter. Like you want to have two ball handlers on the court that can shoot. So ultimately, we'll see how the rest of the roster comes out. But like, all right, starting game one is Jared McCain on the roster?
On the roster?
Is he? Yeah, is he on the roster? Yes, game one of the season.
I thought they were going to ask starting. I would say I think there's a 70%, like 75% chance he's on the roster. I think he will be, but there's no denying he's tradable. Like he is certainly tradable. To what you said too about him being an NBA player, he could come to the Sixers, be a disappointment, but if he's a great shooter, he'll make what $4 million this year. Like, he will be a very tradable asset in the NBA.
I agree. All right. So big thoughts on Jared McCain. I want to make sure we talk about this before we get out, or, before we move on or anything. Mikal Bridges is a Knick. I mean, it came down last night out of nowhere, kind of seemingly. It was a pretty steep overpay. Like, I like Mikal Bridges. Dude, that's a huge price to pay for basically just vibes, right? I mean, like, you're trading that just for the you're getting bullied by the Nova guys to trade for Mikal Bridges.
Yeah. So I have a bunch of thoughts on this. One, I would say, to your point about vibes, I think just big picture, I think it's certain things in sports you can just tell aren't going to happen, or vice versa. When there's a trade and everyone on Twitter rips it, you know it's going to end up being a good trade. When teams go in on bits, like the dream team with the Eagles, that bit didn't work out.
Like taking all the Georgia Bulldogs defensive players.
Taking all the Georgia Bulldogs has not worked out. Let's just be honest. Rebuilding a team of Nova players is going too far in on the bit. Like, it's just too far. Like, a team of Nova players, no offense to Nova, it could be any college, but especially Nova, is not going to work. So I do think they've gone too far in that way. Like, I'm happy that James is in the breaking news booth right now because he is probably going crazy. But he's a Knicks fan anyway, so it doesn't matter. But
yeah, we lost him. It's over. Exactly. We had a good run.
It's done. Here's my other serious take on this. They overpaid, but like, I'm mostly okay with it. I think if you can get someone like Mikal that's of his age, it has his skill set, he will be useful on every single team. I think he is better than people think in terms of giving him the ball and he'll get you a bucket. I don't think he's a pure role player. I think that we talked about the concern of Brunson's height. Like, Mikal is someone they can give the ball to late in games, and his size will allow him to have a good matchup against most defensive players. So I think that the Knicks, what they lacked was, other than Brunson, someone to give the ball to in big moments. I know Randall was hurt, obviously, for second half of the season.
And he stinks, like I try to tell you a million times. He's not that
great. So, like, I do think there's a lot of logic to it. He'll be there for a long time. We talk about wanting guys who want to be on the team. Like, Mikal has been, that SpongeBob meme where Squidward's looking out, like, you like that young reference, like TikTok. We're there, right? But he clearly wanted to be a Knick. So I'm okay with paying the five picks. I don't think the Knicks are like this massive title favorite now or like close to Boston. I think they're better than the Sixers, but 2 weeks from now that could change. Like, if the Sixers go out and get Paul George or get somebody like that, I think they're right there with them. So I like the idea behind the trade, but I don't view this as some death blow to the Sixers.
It's not a death blow, but I think they're clearly the second best team in the East, and like, they just got that much tougher to take out in a playoff series. Again, like, we're talking about Jared McCain now, if he's on the team. It's about Tyrese Maxey, whoever the rest, like, going up against, again, Mikal Bridges' length, like the toughness that the Knicks showed last year. They added another super tough guy, and they re-signed OG, who was the best plus minus guy in the league. Like, it was a ton of money, but like, it's better for them that he's on the team than not on the team. So like, they can go OG, Mikal Bridges. They can throw that on just about anyone. I mean, if you're looking for a Tatum Brown stopper, I mean, that could be those two. And then you just have to hope Brunson goes off, and Brunson kind of killed him in some of those games. Boston.
The Knicks remind me a little of the 01 Sixers. Like, I think Mikal is better than any other player Iverson had on those. Hold on. Like Brunson's Iverson, and then he has a bunch of like versatile role players. Like, I think they're obviously more skilled. Like, this Knicks team would smash the 01 Sixers, as much that pains me to say. But I think it's the same kind of philosophy. Like, if you look at other teams, Boston has two better players and the Knicks two best players. I think the Sixers have two players better than the Knicks two best players, and I think the Bucks do. But the Knicks clearly have the best roster outside of the Celtics in the East, from 3 to whatever, like 9. Like, their next 6 players are way better than anything the other teams have besides Celtics.
See, I was going to say that, like, they have a little bit of the 04 Pistons. They remind me a little bit of that. Like, the Pistons.
I don't think the Pistons had that main guy the way Brunson is, but I think it's.
Yeah, but I think Billups is pretty damn close, and Rasheed. I mean, Rasheed was a damn good player. I just like, from a toughness standpoint, from not quote unquote having a star, and I just think that they got a bunch of dudes. I mean, that's what that Pistons team kind of was. So yeah, they definitely got. I think they're the second best team in the East. I agree. It was it was disappointing. I would have liked to see Mikal Bridges not on the Knicks yet. I figured he would eventually be there.
Right.
And then the other big piece of news today is what Stephen A. Smith reported on First Take was that the Suns are looking to trade Kevin Durant. Now, I hope that Jared McCain, I hope he's looking for places in Phoenix. Sounds like. But that's like, again, it would be very disheartening if I was a Knicks fan and I traded 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges when Kevin Durant could be available. And
yeah, I don't know if I agree with you on that. Like,
why?
The Kevin Durant Jimmy Butler thing doesn't appeal to me. Like,
dude, Kevin Durant should still appeal to you. It should.
I don't know. I'm just being honest. Like, look, if you want to trade for Kevin Durant, I get it. Like, I understand there's certain base level things in sports. If you can acquire Kevin Durant, you do it. But like Kevin Durant,
think about Howie. Think about Howie in this situation. What would Howie do?
Think about Nick Sirianni culture. Like, are you, but
well,
I don't know,
yeah,
like,
he's
Kevin
great
Durant,
at that.
Yeah, Kevin Durant has bounced around from team to team. The Suns had Kevin Durant last year and didn't really do anything. I know there was injuries and all that. Like, Durant hasn't won anything since he left the Warriors. And we just spent 10 minutes talking about how fun it'll be that McCain wants to be a Sixer. Like, Durant's gonna come here and so look, if you can get Durant for 1 first-round pick, I get it. Like, I understand. But I'm not giving up 3 or 4 first-round picks for Durant. I'm just not. Like, I'd rather have Ingram. Like, I want people that will come here this year, help the team, and like can grow with this team. I have no interest in like players just coming through to try to win a ring for 1 year. Like, because I don't think they will. And so you're basically selling like your culture and everything. Just I don't have an interest in it. I get it. If they do it, I'm sure I'll talk myself into it. But I'm just not as interested in the Durant Jimmy thing as other people are. Now, the Suns did say they weren't going to trade him for what it's worth. But.
They did. They came out and said that. So here's my case for Kevin Durant. That he's a top 15 player of all time.
Yeah.
that can still score. And so I hear your fears on that. And Spike has also brought that up too, of like how that's part of the reason why I didn't want LeBron. It was like he didn't want to feel like a cheap ring. I'll take a cheap ring. Like, at this point with the Sixers, like, give me the cheap ring and let me just feel what a Sixers title actually is like. Like, why can't he just be Moses, man? Like, why can't he be Moses? Moses came here, won a ring, stayed for a couple years.
Am I right? Pete Rose, no.
Pete Rose came here, exactly right.
Yeah,
it's okay. It's okay. So I'll take that. I'll take that opportunity. Plus, for all your concerns about whether Kevin Durant is a Philly guy or if he wants to be a Sixer, he's a owner of the Union. I mean,
well, look, the Union suck now. So if he came here, maybe he would reinvigorate trying to be invested in that. He hasn't been of an.
I have noticed a lack of Union tweets from you and conversation about how they've actually jumped the Phillies in local interests. So
I'll take my shots at the Phillies, but I don't think the Union are. I don't think they have to worry about the Union breathing down their neck.
There was a moment where I believe that some people did think that, but it's okay.
Well,
so the Kevin Durant thing, and I do think that I think he has I think him and Embiid have a mutual admiration to where I think that they would like playing with each other. Now, I don't know how Maxey would feel about it, but at least from a
run point, I guess. Now, Durant will give you the height that you don't have with McCain. Like, it would be a sick fit with McCain, Maxey, and Durant. But
McCain won't be here.
Good point. Yeah, I guess they could trade future picks, but yeah, you're right. Yeah,
probably won't be here. So who knows? But I mean, it all starts Sunday, man. Like we'll see. There could be trades between now and Sunday, I guess. But
those are the two quick questions I had for you before we wrap this up.
Okay.
What's your read on the Paul George thing, and what do you think of Jimmy Butler report that he's going to stay in Miami but not get an extension?
So, I mean, is there a latest on Paul George? Or I'm almost just waiting for the re-signing with the Clippers thing, honestly. Like, I'm just, it feels more, that's how it's
I guess there's no real update. Honestly, I've been online all day. It feels like every little tweet I see feels like an update, but I guess there hasn't really been anything of note with Paul George.
So, like, I don't know if there's anything going on with Paul George. We'll see. But the Jimmy Butler thing, that seems and screams, I'm not getting my way, so I'll stay. And then like the whole report of like he's going to go try to get a big payday after this year, so he's going to put everything into this year. That screams, they're not trading me where I want to go. I'm not going to be able to get out of here, so I might as well sink my teeth in, be on my best behavior, have a dynamite year, see how far I can take them, and then bounce and leave them behind because they won't let me go where I want to go.
So my take on it was similar. My take on it is Jimmy really doesn't want to leave Miami. Like he wants to stay in Miami and he is willing. They were probably like, we're not going to extend you. So, talk about trade. And he's like, no. I'll stay for a year and we'll figure it out. So I don't think he's being traded. Is it 100% possibility? Like is 100%? No, of course there's a chance, but I don't think Jimmy's being traded. So if you look at it, I don't think they're getting LeBron. I don't think they're getting Jimmy. I don't think they're getting Paul George. And it sounds like Kevin Durant's not being traded. Mikal is gone. OG signed. Time to start watching Jared McCain's TikToks and get in on it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think
and get
a fun Sixers team. Yeah.
I mean, the Ingram thing's out there. It's probably going to happen. If I had to guess, like Ingram's probably going to be a Sixer.
I agree.
And maybe that's why they didn't take Dalton Connect, because they knew that they can't have it's just so much size.
Yeah, you don't want to be too tall. That's what I've said my whole life. You don't want to be too tall.
Exactly, and you're perfectly average height, allegedly.
Exactly right. Exactly.
Which is good. So yeah, I mean, Ingram kind of feels like he's going to be a Sixer because they're going to miss out on everything else, and we'll see if they can then swing that in a trade for Kevin Durant and see if Kevin Durant becomes a Sixer. That feels like Maury's big old swing is trying to get to Kevin Durant here. So the second round of the draft starts at 4:00 tomorrow. So
I can't wait. Good day of sport tomorrow. We got
talk about primetime draft viewing is 4:00 in the afternoon. What is this, the 1980s with some of the drafts they used to have?
So you look at tomorrow. The draft's at 4. USA Soccer at 6:00. The Phillies play tomorrow.
6:20. Yeah.
6:20. Phillies at 6:20. And then we got the ultimate sport, at 8. So it'll be an
big old debate, and we're debating everything on WIP
big day tomorrow. I'll be defending the Sixers at 9:00 a.m. against Joe DeCamera if anybody wants to listen.
So you're defending the Sixers?
I'm defending the Sixers.
Interesting, because it was supposed to be Spike, and I believe that there might have been some ducking accusations from DeCamera.
Oh, against Spike?
Yeah.
I can see where those came from. I don't want to get too much into it, but I think I'm picking up what you're saying. Yeah.
So it'll be a fun day on WIP tomorrow. Obviously, if there's any trades or anything, don't leave the station. Just don't leave the station, per usual. I will be debating. Me and Gilio are debating if Nick Sirianni matters for the next coming.
That'll be good. Gilio versus Jolly will be very good. But we all know where this is really going before we wrap this up.
Yeah.
Spike Eskin, Daddy Eskin, 4:00. It's going to be unbelievable radio on the Sixers. I'm very excited for that.
Spike could not be more excited.
I'm
could
sure.
not be.
I'm sure.
He loves it. He loves debating his dad about Embiid. So it's going to be riveting stuff per usual. But either way, download the TikTok app. I need next time James Jackson and I come on here saying like we're 2 days into college and you don't understand it.
I'm going to look at TikToks.
Yeah,
you might have a clap your hands TikTok competition or something.
Listen.
The callers, not us, obviously.
Yeah, our listeners, all that stuff. The dozens out there. All right, buddy.
Good stuff.
Big day tomorrow. I'm going to go watch some TikToks and go Sixers. Get this thing right. For Elliot Short Parks, for Jack Fritz, this has been another edition of Clap Your Hands, all presented by Coors Light.